But, guys, let's move into the next team we are talking about, and that is the Oakland Raiders. May have some mixed feelings on these picks, and I'm actually, because Sean did a great job throughout the entire live stream writing down trades that went on, picks that were picked. So I'm going to kick it to you. Who were the 3 picks, and where did the Raiders have them, just to recap?
I had to write it down because the internet wasn't working, or the internet's not a thing. Oakland at 4, they took Clelin Ferrell, the defensive end out of Clemson. At 24, the pick they got from the Chicago Bears in the Khalil Mack trade took Josh Jacobs, running back out of Alabama. And then Oakland with the 27th pick, the pick they got from the Dallas Cowboys in the Amari Cooper trade, they took Johnathan Abram, safety from Mississippi State.
Now, the thing I will say about this is the first pick, although like the whole thing of it's going to be a surprise, it's going to be someone that no one's had mocked to us before. And Brandon and I on the Onside Kick earlier this week did a segment, and we had a comment where someone was like talking to me, because I know I was a little bit negative on the Raiders, saying how I'm going to eat my words and I'm going to be backtracking this. I'm going to say I was wrong. When I heard surprise, I thought it was going to be Daniel Jones, and I was going to be mocking this pick tonight. I'm going to say, as a non-Raider fan, I know I've got the mashup Raider shirt on, but I'm not a Raider fan. As a non-fan, the Clelin Ferrell pick, I'm not mad with it. Is it a little bit of a reach for me? Yes. Did I have Montez Sweat above Clelin Ferrell? Yes. But you needed a pass rusher. You went with pass rusher. Good job, Mike Mayock. You did what you needed to do. The question is, for me, how do you feel about the second 2? Because like you point out during our live stream, which you're not wrong, Sean, Josh Jacobs might have been a little bit of a reach at 24. And then Johnathan Abrams, whether that was just a decision of, hey, I want to go with a safety over a corner, I feel like they could have went with a corner and gotten a safety later in the draft. What did you guys think of these 3 picks, and where do you guys want to start?
I will say that it's Johnathan Abram.
Abram.
As Chicagoans, as a Chicagoan, we have to add an S to something that we would have an S, like Jules.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally thought all of them were reaches. Clelin Ferrell was a guy that you saw all the way from like 20, ranked on big boards to, some had him in the top 10. So he wasn't a guy that was consistently, at a certain spot for big boards.
Yep.
And some people were like, it's not that bad of a pick, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And then some people were saying you just took the 3rd worst Clemson defensive lineman in this draft. So I mean, it was all over the place. A lot of people were mocking the pick on Twitter. And where I end up settling on it is, if it's a bad pick, then it's going to show in 5 years. But if he pans out, who cares? Like, if he turns out to be a guy that can get you 10 to 15 sacks a year, no one's really going to mock the pick. Because, again, it's the first day. He hasn't taken a snap in the NFL. And Clelin Ferrell led a team to nearly a national title in 3 years? I know they at least got 1. Or did they get 2?
They got 1.
They got 1. So, because Alabama won this year, right?
I think so. I'd have to double check.
I don't know. But I mean, they were close. I mean, they were at least in the college playoffs for 3 years. So I mean, this is a guy that has been there. He's played against NFL teams, obviously.
Oh, they won this year because Trevor Lawrence won it.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a guy that's won 2 championships then. I mean, this is a guy that's been through the thick and thin. I think
2016 and 2018.
Yeah, if he pans out, no one's going to mock this pick. But it's just something where, if he was the number 1 guy on their board, go with your board, because that's who you're scouting and that's who you've hired to scout your players. So if that's the pick that you like and you're happy with, Oakland Raiders, then I really can't mock it until it turns out to be a bad pick. He's still a first rounder. He's still a guy that was a need, like you were saying, Ricky, and he's still a guy that was in the top 10. You didn't reach out to get a guy in the 2nd round and pick him at 4. You took a guy that was definitely being talked, at highest, going to the Broncos or the Bills at 10 or 9. So overall, I think you can't mock the pick until you see him play. And if, weirdly enough, and I don't think it'd be too shocking, if Josh Allen comes out and is a stud for Jacksonville, and Ed Oliver comes out and he's a stud for Buffalo, or you see, Christian Wilkins or Rashawn Gary or Dexter Lawrence come out and they're studs for their teams, then maybe, or Brian Burns as well from Carolina, if those guys come out and they're studs for their team, and, Clelin Ferrell's like a guy that's getting like 9.5 sacks at the most, then you can start questioning the pick. But he hasn't played a snap in the NFL. It's not really that bad of a pick until he proves it wrong.
But the point is that you mentioned a bunch of guys who are still fairly raw and have much lower floors than these guys. I think that's the one thing they nailed was they went out and got guys from great programs who are high character players, and that's the answer is we're going to take guys who are for sure NFL players. They're going to deliver. They're going to be able to be starters. They're going to be able to contribute, and they have high character, and they still have high upside. It's just the fact that their floor, I think, is much higher than those guys who have some things to work through, whether it's injuries, whether it's just learning the game better, filling out,
developing more moves. Yeah,
exactly. So I think they went on that side of the draft. It feels like, but I don't know. I don't hate any of the picks, like he said. Is Ferrell sure? A bit of a reach, but at the same time, if you like the character, if you like what he can do, and you think that he can contribute, even if he's the third best guy in that line, it's when he's in a situation with other talent. He amplifies the talent around him, which is what you want.
Yeah, I mean, last year I'm a Patriot fan. I'm also a Bears fan. More of a Brady fan than a Patriot fan. Yeah. But the thing is, like last year, I did not like the Sony Michel pick because I don't like first round running backs. I didn't like the pick of Rashad Penny for the Seattle Seahawks last year either. But clearly those just guys that separate themselves from the pack, like Ezekiel Elliott, like Saquon Barkley, like Leonard Fournette. Yeah. Those guys obviously separated themselves, and Fournette even hasn't panned out. He, two of the three of those guys, haven't panned out because he's had off the field issues. He's had injuries as well. Yep. And those injuries were prevalent in college. But Josh Jacobs didn't scream first round pick to me. He didn't scream one of those game changing players that could do it all for you. Ezekiel has come out and shown that he could be a guy who can catch passes out of the backfield and also be a guy that can get you 100 yards a game. Saquon Barkley was clearly the most. I think probably the most electrifying rookie last year. I know people love Baker, but I watched so much Saquon last year, and I'm not even a Giants fan. I found him to be fascinating. So, I mean, he clearly had the talent to be a top 5 pick. Those are guys you can't scoff at, but a guy like Josh Jacobs, who wasn't even the clear running back at Alabama, and yes, that team is the most talented team in college football year in and year out, I just felt like he wasn't warranted a first-round pick, and I think that you also had some bigger needs at those playmaking spots where you look at the wide receivers, in the first round that could have gone like a N'Keal Harry, like a Hollywood Brown that was available for you at the 24th pick, I believe, because Baltimore took him at 25. Yeah. I thought those players would be more interesting, and they ended up going away from him. And again, it's just needing to be picked and panning out. So if Josh Jacobs pan out, I'll probably regret this.
But again, Jacobs, even if he's an above average running back by committee kind of a guy, you're still getting a guy who can do it all. He essentially has all the tools for running back. He can catch out of the backfield well enough. He can run well enough. He can find cuts. He can find holes. Like he is a solid player, and I agree with you. I don't think he's first round value in my mind either. I've got him as good, not amazing top end.
I find him to be very similar and too similar to Sony Michel last year. I think that Sony was not a great pass catcher last year for the Patriots. I don't think Josh Jacobs will be a good pass catcher for the Oakland Raiders, and I think he's going to be a guy that, like Sony, will get a lot of touches. Maybe 20 touches a game for the Oakland Raiders. I think that Gruden's going to look for a balanced offense. Yeah. And I think one thing, too, is, we were looking at Derek Carr, and we're saying that he's not going to be taking too many deep shots, which I think is going to limit the passing attack because they're going to want to save it. Let's draw in the defense, run, play action pass, then we'll throw it deep because at least, Carr will be throwing to an open Antonio Brown or something like that. So that's the thing where I look at is I think they're going to try to go for a balanced offense, and Josh Jacobs will be able to do that. I mean, you look at what Sony Michel did when he was healthy last year for the Patriots, and he was able to increase the ability for the Patriots to make big plays throughout their play action. So I think he can be a very similar player, but I think he is limited in a role that, the Patriots still need to rely on Rex Burkhead throughout the playoffs. They still needed James White out of the backfield, and he was their best receiver. I think that's still going to be a thing that's going to hold back Josh Jacobs is his inability to be like a Saquon, and not a lot of players are like Saquon, but his inability to be a guy that can do it all and be a 3-down back. I don't think he is a 3-down back in the NFL. And taking that guy in the first round is a little bit of a reach for me. Again, if he pans out, oh well. And I don't even know if Sony panned out, but I mean he played his ass off in the playoffs, scored some touchdowns. I think he had 5 in the playoffs, and I don't think I'm mad at that pick now because we won the Super Bowl. So I overall, it's just got to pan out, and this team has to be good. And if Josh Jacobs can contribute and rush for 1,000 yards or be near over 90 yards a game, then it's gonna be worth the pick. But again, I need to see him play an NFL snap and how he's going to work in the offense.
I just feel with the last two, like you're completely right. If they pan out 4 years from now, no one's going to bat an eye. It's going to be like, good pick, Mike Mayock. But at this point, the thing that I think about, and it's also how the draft is playing out. Like, if I was Mike Mayock, if I got to 24 with how the draft was, in my mind, I would have been like, all right, we went with Clelin Ferrell at number 4 because we really liked him. Guess what we still need? Pass rushing. Mm-hmm. We had 13. Like, I said this on the Onside Kick earlier this week, and it blows my mind. They were the lowest team in sacks this year at 13. The next team above them had 30. That is how bad your team was at getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, and Clelin Ferrell's not adding 17 sacks to your team.
And that's the thing where I feel like with Montez Sweat, with how he was dropping, like that should have been your pick at 24 too. I would have just doubled down on the defense there of let's just get to the quarterback. And then there's a part of me that thinks with Johnathan Abram, I wouldn't have went with him. I would have went with, if I'm thinking back 7 because they needed help in the back 7, cornerback or safety, I think I would have went with a DeAndre Baker who went at 30 or a Byron Murphy or whatever corner you liked there. Because when I look at the picks and where everything is, now the second rounder because I wouldn't have taken Josh Jacobs with the first rounder, I'm betting he would be there at 35. I don't think Arizona or Indianapolis are going to take a running back. I think that Josh Jacobs, like you said during the live screen, would have been there at 35. So if you really liked him, you could have got him in the second round. I know you don't get the 5th-year option on him at that point. Mm-hmm. The only thing is your next pick after that is going to be in the 4th round. And the thing that I look at is there are safeties that I like that you could get later on. And if you wanted to, you could trade up into the 3rd round to get a safety, even like if Amani Hooker is there, if a Deontay Thompson is there, because I don't think all of these guys are just going to go in the 2nd round. I think there's a chance you could have got one of these guys later and didn't have to settle on a Johnathan Abram so early. So early.
I think the thing is what Dave said is they still got 3 starters at the end of the day, which is something that they needed. It might not have matched our big board or our personal mocks, and we still might be looking at this and saying, well, we could have got X guy, Y guy, and Z guy here. But overall, if it pans out, and this team is able to win with these players on the field, it doesn't matter. So I again looking at it, I think their player probably wasn't Abram, their top-rated safety, looking at the way this played out, because you look at that 21st pick, Seattle trades it to Green Bay. Clearly, Seattle wasn't looking secondary, at least. They weren't looking secondary because their only pick was L.J. Collier, the defensive end for TCU, and they ended up trading with the Giants for them to take DeAndre Baker. So they were looking defensive line help, especially with Frank Clark leaving.
And they traded earlier with the Packers, who took the first safety.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is Green Bay was clearly looking to jump somebody. And Baltimore, I think, got their guy in Marquise Brown and still traded back at 25th for wide receiver. So I think they were looking wide receiver the whole time. And you look at Houston was going offensive tackle. So who did Green Bay need to jump from 25? They needed to jump the Raiders at 24, and the Raiders end up going with a safety at 27. So I think the Raiders probably liked Darnell Savage for his ability to play the secondary, his ability to play both safety and cornerback. I think that would have, if the Raiders made that pick of Darnell Savage at 24 and he was available at that point with Green Bay didn't trade up, would have loved the pick. Would have absolutely loved it. But it didn't pan out for them that way. And again, I think they probably did the most of what they could have done. I just, again, look at it and I'm like, I personally would have gone Sweat at 24 and then went secondary at 27. I wouldn't have picked Josh Jacobs because I don't like running backs. And you possibly could have gotten him in the 2nd round because they still have their 2nd round pick, right?
That's true. Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
They have the 3rd pick of the 2nd round.
Yeah, so I'm thinking.
I think they could have gotten Josh Jacobs because I don't think the Cardinals are going running back. They have David Johnson. And I don't think they
got Mack.
Who?
Marlon Mack, the Colts.
Yeah.
Oh, the 2nd pick?
Yeah, they're the next pick.
I don't think they're even going because they traded out anyways.
Yeah, would have been the Jets, but last year's trade.
Yeah, the Colts traded out last year. And I mean they might have been looking Josh Jacobs at 26. But I mean I don't think the Colts are going to be going running back anyways. So I think you probably could have gotten Josh Jacobs anyways. So now you're just kind of gambling and hoping you're getting the cornerback
because like 4 corners available still who are all pretty.
But you still want to get your guy.
Yeah. So the question is, do they really like Greedy? Do they like Rock? Who is their guy in that 2nd round? And that's what I have to wonder because that's I've been flipping through their subreddit trying to see what they're thinking. It feels like a lot of people are leaning Rock, and I'm cool with that. I don't think that's a bad selection to kick off pick number 3 of the second round. This is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I agree though that I would have happily swapped off that Josh Jacobs pick for Marquise Brown. And I'm like, you make Antonio Brown happy, this team stays happier because the locker room is happier.
The only question with that
I think
pick,
Antonio Brown's just happy he's out of Pittsburgh. So I don't think drafting his cousin wasn't huge, and also his cousin's gonna be playing against the Steelers twice a year, so I think he's happy with that as well.
The only thing with the Marquise Brown thing that I like it because it's a weapon that they could have. The only thing I don't like about it is Antonio Brown and Terrell Williams are your 1-2. You're going to put Marquise in the slot? Is that what you're going to do? Or are you just going to have him as like a 4 through 6 wide receiver?
Go routes everywhere.
And that's the thing where it's like I don't think Marquise would fit in the slot if he's going to be a starter on that team.
You can play guys anywhere.
I think so. I mean, where else?
I think he's more of an outside guy.
Why?
He's more of an outside deep guy than in the slot.
I mean, Tyrell played the slot last year, didn't he, for the Chargers?
I don't think so. He was on the outside. He was their number 2 wide receiver.
Keenan, but I don't remember watching the Chargers.
Yeah,
I wasn't watching a lot of West Coast games. The only Chargers game I fully remember watching was when the Patriots kicked their ass and they didn't score. So, I mean,
fit might not be 100% there, but it was a cool story.
Dave's like, I just like Marquise.
You like the story.
I like the story.
I still think that
I always mocked them to the Steelers.
If they're able to get either a pass rusher, I mean, even Jerry Tillery who went
28.
At 28, I would have liked that as well. I would have liked that interior pass rush as well because before his injury, he had like 7 sacks in 3 games. He was a stud. I really like his leadership as well. He was a true leader out there as well. So again, I don't want to bash it too much because the Raiders didn't take guys who were outside of the first round. In some people, I mean, some people had Josh Jacobs in their first round, big board wise. So they didn't take it wasn't like Steeler bad last year where they take Edmonds' brother, the safety out of Virginia Tech. They took first round guys. So if it pans out, it pans out.
The thing I am going to say that's an actual good thing with how the Raiders were is they're both on the quarterback side. Number 1, you passed on Daniel Jones at number 4, what I thought you were going to do. So gold star there. We'll talk about a team that were not so
When
lucky.
did you start thinking that? Was
when
just
they said
this a
surprise pick.
That's why I'm like, I think.
But also, I'm kind of happy that they didn't get suckered into taking Drew Lock at 24-27 because earlier on in the draft process around the Senior Bowl, there was a lot of words like that John Gruden liked Drew Lock, liked working with them, liked what he had.
Gruden likes saying things though.
Yeah,
Gruden
he just likes talking.
And that's the thing.
Gruden's the guy that came into like
a
random
if it was a smoke screen or if it was like he really did like.
He probably just likes him. Like he might take him with the 3rd pick in the 3rd round. We don't know. But I mean, this is a guy that also was trying to leverage himself when he was at ESPN. He went to do some interview in Seattle and threw out the word Rocky Top.
Yep.
It's like, I mean, he's just trying to garner up media attention. So if he says, "Oh, I like Drew Lock," that's immediate. A quarterback, ESPN, he knows how this is going to work. So the Raiders. Oakland, moving to Las Vegas, it's just going to draw interest. That's all he's doing. So, I mean, I don't know what they were doing exactly with that, and I don't think they were really looking quarterback at all. They know their current situation. They got Derek Carr, and whether you like him or not, he is getting paid a lot of money to be the quarterback of the Oakland Raiders. They're not going to move on.
He's not a bad quarterback.
It's just if you have any long-term health concerns.
Yeah,
he's not great, but he's not horrible.
No. Then the 1 year he did really well is when he had a team that had it to where he did not turn over the ball a lot.
Yeah, and now he's got Antonio Brown, so that's going to help him.
Here's the last thing I'll ask you guys. You are drafting for the Raiders, first pick of the 2nd round. Who are you going with?
I'm going to go pick of the second round.
I'm going to go bold. I'm going to go DK Metcalf. I'm going wide receiver. I'm giving him a weapon.
We just talked about playing the slot. I don't think DK's playing the slot.
I think I wait and get a Paris Campbell.
I think if they go wide out, they go AJ or Paris. If there was a middle linebacker available or outside edge or outside backer, I'd probably go that. I don't think there is though because both the Devons are gone. And then outside of that, the middle linebacker position was pretty thin. So,
the top edge according to NFL is Jalen Ferguson. Ferguson is the top one available.
Who are you going with, Dave?
I'm going with Rock. I'm just agreeing with Subra at this point. I don't need my own. I let them group think for me.
Deep thinking there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense though. Like, tell me why adding a cornerback who they probably
No, they need one.
Could
That's
have-
why I said
could have
I would
reached
have went
earlier.
with Baker.
Yeah, I think Baker would have been fine. But yeah, it's the position they're in at this point.
So you're going corner. I said wide out.
Yep.
Sean. Sean's
Cody
like,
Ford.
Sean's like, tough question for 12:30 in the morning.
Cody Ford or Dalton
Okay.
Risner. I think they need. I mean, they did just
Protect
draft.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, they did just draft Colton Miller last year, right, from UCLA.
Yep.
Hated that pick.
That was our first round.
Hated that fucking pick. I thought he was horrible.
Well, Mike Mayock's there, and they didn't have a Colton Miller pick, so I guess that's good.
I think they might go offensive line.
Okay.
Open up lanes for Josh Jacobs. Open up passing lanes for Derek Carr.
Not a bad idea.
Because he just broke his back. So, I mean, you already had two defensive players. I wouldn't be shocked if we go offensive.
Well, This is where you guys come in. Raider fans, let us know what you guys think down below. First off, what do you thought of your 3 picks of Clelin Ferrell, Josh Jacobs, and Johnathan Abram? Did you like it, not like it? What are you looking for the future? Let us know what you guys think down below.